Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Abington Board of School Directors. I note the attendance of all board members with the exception of Mr. Allen, who is excused. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Abington Board of School Directors has convened this evening's meeting at the Administration Building, and the public is welcome. This meeting is also being broadcast live on the Abington School District YouTube channel. The meeting is being recorded and will be accessible on the district's website and cable channel no later than Friday, April 25th, 2025.
I'm okay for now.
To allow those members of the public who cannot participate to view the meeting at a later time. Comments from citizens will be conducted in person and by phone. Information regarding participating remotely in public comment will be displayed on the screen at the time of public comment. The board thanks the public in advance for its cooperation. This is a place where we hold dignity and high regard, and everyone's voices are respected and welcomed in this space. Dr. Fetcher, do we have any additional announcements or additional agenda items?
Yes, Dr. Mowry. First, I would like to begin tonight by acknowledging the passing of Pope Francis, who passed away on Monday morning following his participation in the Vatican's Easter service the day prior. For many in our community, his loss is deeply felt. We recognize that this news may be difficult for some of you. Regardless of our individual beliefs, Pope Francis' message of peace, compassion, and unity continues to resonate with people around the world. Our thoughts are with those whose lives he touched during his leadership, and we extend our support to all who are mourning this loss. Next, I would like to extend our appreciation to the Giant Company for donating more than $7,800 to Abington School District as part of the 2025 Feeding Schools Kids Initiative. Every dollar contributed by local Giant shoppers will be used by our Student Services Department to purchase gift cards for Abington School District families to help offset the costs of groceries. Thank you to Giant and our community for rounding up at the register to benefit families right here in Abington and Rockledge. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we will move to opening comments of board members. Mrs. Brown.
Good evening, everyone. And it is very sad and on my heart, the passing of Pope Francis. What he stood for, what he represented, and the change that he brought about in the faith community are big shoes to fill, but his legacy will live on. For the members of the community who celebrated Holy Week with me, I hope that it was a blessed time and that you had time to reflect and to have fun with family. Good evening, everyone, and I hope we have a great meeting.
Ms. Eisenhart.
Good evening.
Mr. Muhammad.
Good evening, everyone.
Ms. Spalding.
Good evening, everyone.
Ms. Hartman.
Good evening.
Ms. Fraser.
Welcome, everyone. And I hope you're not as chilly as I am.
Ms. Fazy.
Good evening, everyone.
And Ms. Wu.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone back from break. I hope it was restful and restorative. I would add as well that we will miss Pope Francis's moral clarity and tireless work on behalf of the poor and other disenfranchised communities. Dr. Fetcher, can you please proceed with this evening's orientation?
Yes, Dr. Mowry. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Phil Solomon, Regional Manager at ICS, to provide an orientation on the future facilities planning.
Thank you for having us back. Phil Solomon from ICS Consulting. I have with me David Schrader from Schrader Group Architects. We have a brief agenda tonight. It's really kind of a review, but a consolidated view, if you will. Part of this was to talk a little bit about the process used to size the middle school, as well as put together the costs. We're going to do a little bit of educational program summary, which really helps drive that, and Mr. Schrader is going to talk about that a little bit. Talk a little bit about the construction costs and the budgeting methodology, as well as kind of the consequences of a failed referendum. So we were asked to put together kind of an estimate of what we would call an emergency prevention program. So we're going to go through that and then field any questions and answers. So there's been a few questions about how was this sized? There's not a design done yet. So how did we come about sizing this building? So we have kind of an infographic here. So the first thing is a demographic study. So a demographer puts together the enrollment projection for the district, for the middle school, and how many students you're going to have in the longer term. And that, in this case, it's 2,200 students. Then the district has an educational program that it wants to run for those middle school. That's the middle school teaming model, and that's a modern way of educating middle school students. We then have Mr. Schrader's group put together square footage for that educational model. So we kind of figure out what is the size of the building to run that educational program. We then develop a cost around that square footage. So that's just to build the building. Then we have to add what's called the indirect costs. That's all the other things that you need to do to build a building in the location with the particulars of Abington Middle School. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to David just to speak a little bit about the programming to square footage process.
Okay, thank you, Phil, and good evening, everybody. So what you're seeing here is a summary cover page that is a cover of about 8 different pages or 10 different pages of educational programming. Several years ago, we sat down with your secondary middle school program staff, actually it was the administration in general, and went through what would support students for the next generation of learning, thinking the whole time about flexibility for the future as well. And the intent as we went through this was to understand total program needs. We fashioned this by doing all of the spaces that you have in the proposed program, which supported every kind of educational goal that the middle school program had. And that turns into what you see up at the number 238,000 square feet. That's the net square footage of need. And the way we look at net square footage is the wall to the wall to the wall to the wall. But every time that you do that, you must have circulation space to get to that. You need to have room for all of your building systems and so on. And so we create what is called a multiplier, or a gross multiplier, that brings us to a total square footage of a facility. And this has become very accurate over time as we've worked through these processes. That number on the right is that multiple, that's a gross square footage of 345,000 square feet. And we worked through the different areas for comparison, and that's what you're seeing down below: the core student spaces, media resource, performing arts, fitness and wellness, and you can anticipate what each of those includes. And what we're trying to get to is some total square footage that we can put on a site to test fit. That's really what we were trying to do at this point in time. And with that, then, Phil's team, as he mentioned, worked through a cost estimating process. So a check for us is this item C, where under that number 2, those of you that can see that, it says 157 square feet per student. So slide yourself to the right on the screen here. In this case, we're looking at a capacity of 2,200 students for this facility, total gross square footage of 345,000 square feet. Therefore, the total gross square footage per student is 157 square feet per student. And so the test for this is, what is an average square footage per student in the region? So the second or third to last line says typical middle school, 150 square feet to 200 square feet per student. Now that's actually kind of a regional number. The interesting thing about that number is that 200 square feet per student is for a smaller school. If you can imagine trying to net out a gymnasium, the dining spaces, performing arts spaces, all of those things for a smaller school, they still end up being fairly similar in size to those for a larger school. So your gross square footage gets reduced as the buildings get a little bit larger, and thus that 150 square feet per student. So you can see that that 157 square feet per student is a pretty good number in the range of total square footages. So that was test number one, and I think we're going to talk about test two in a second.
Yes. So then from the square footage that was developed, we're looking at costs. And what you're seeing here is you've seen kind of a pretty steep escalation in costs. Pre-COVID, this is 2018, and these orange bars reflect renovation additions, and the blue bars reflect new construction. These are all school buildings in Southeast PA, so this is really what you would compare against. So you can see as 2018, 2019, 2021, these are rising. All of these buildings here are 2024. So now we're in 2025, but you can see that the range in 2024 was about 460 to 500. In 2025, we're using around 500 as the correct number for dollars per square foot of a building. Now that's just the building. Then you have to build it, so you need all these other indirect costs. And we're going to talk about those as we break this out a little bit further. But just keep in mind that, you know, we're kind of using these actual bid data from areas from buildings in our region to kind of drive this cost estimating. David, you want to talk a little bit about this picture? I know that there's a lot that has been said about this conceptual picture, but could you just give an idea of why we did that?
Yeah, sure. So now you've got a total square footage for a building that will support the program that you need, and the goal always is to test fit that square footage on a site. The square footage doesn't mean anything in the image. What it's trying to do is trying to get you that square footage fit within all of the setback lines and all of the zoning restrictions on the sites. And I say sites because in this case, you actually have several parcels that make up your entire piece of property. And so the orange merely demonstrates square footage on the site for a building, and then the attempt to try to separate car and bus traffic on the site to accommodate that as you begin to plan. And then, of course, trying to get all of the playing fields on that you need to have on the site as well. So the end result as we go through this process will be a true design process where we try to figure out exactly what it is that Abington School District wants for a middle school, and it will turn into a site design. All that's trying to do is to fit the square footage on the site. Two wings mean nothing. All it means is a total square footage and several stories to fit most of the zoning restrictions. So as your project evolves, when the project evolves, you'll see this change quite a bit. Our goal is to try to show that the area in pink, that is the existing middle school, if you're seeing pink, some people might see purple, versus that orange area allows us to move the students once the new building is built into that space, take the old building down, and resume all of the site construction that surrounds that building. That's all that's doing. At some point, that will change.
Great, thank you. Just giving a little context to some of these numbers. Now, when we work through the estimate, I'll just point to different things. So remember David was talking about 345,000 square feet. So that's the number we're using. When you look at mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and general trade costs, this equates to about $147 million. There is site work for this consolidated lot, and it's going to be a little more than if it was just a plain lot, because this site it's older. It was built quite a while ago, did not have as many stormwater and erosion control requirements at the time. We'll have to bring the entire site up to current code when this building is built. Again, there's a demolition budget as well. The building's old and cement, it's sizable to get rid of that building. Now, if we were to build that building right now, as it is, it would be $513 per square foot. So that's the comparison that you would have to kind of other projects. So I've heard some comparisons out there. So that would be more of an apples to apples comparison. However, we're building this on an active site and right here in the middle of the existing middle school and the existing high school. So there is going to be some temporary construction and roads and all those kind of things to keep the site operational during construction. So you had to account for that. In addition, where this is going, there is an existing, these tennis courts are right under here, and there's a track. So we're going to have to relocate that as well. So you add that to the cost. We're also not building it today, so there's a significant amount of construction cost escalation built into this. Now, we have it at 4.5% per year, and the way that this is typically done is to the midpoint of construction. So just to give you an idea, you know, that is about 12.8% of the total budget. Now, we hope that inflation is not going to run at 4.5% per year, but that's not a strategy. You have to plan for what you see. So that's what it's planned for right now. You then also have contingencies and design and construction contingencies, and then there are all the professional services, owner costs, permits, commissioning, everything you need to make a building work. So when you put all that together, it's $285 million for this 345,000 square foot building in this location. Another way to look at this is I put it in a pie chart just so you can see it differently. Some people are visual learners or what have you. You can see this $176 million, that's the $513 per square foot. That comprises a majority of the cost, but then you have the movement of the fields, you have the contingencies and escalation. Again, hopefully it's not as steep as it has been, and that can come down. The district would have less. And then you have all the professional services, permits, furniture, fixtures, equipment, etc. Now to what would happen if the referendum failed. So as many of you know, the middle school is a lot of the systems are well past their useful life. And it's really time to start investing. And you have a good opportunity here to invest in a new building, or you can invest in the existing building. Just the basic HVAC renovation in this building is going to trigger a lot of code upgrades because it's going to be invasive. So that will be some of the HVAC and the return air codes, et cetera. A lot of the ADA deficiencies we could probably defer if we did this targeted renovation. So we're not assuming we're going to bring it all up to code, and that's all going to be that will all be subject to the authority having jurisdiction, whether that's possible or not. But we've modeled it that we don't have to bring the whole thing up to code. This process, the building would look exactly like it looks today. So you're really not modifying that much except the systems behind the walls. So think of your infrastructure systems like mechanical, electrical, plumbing. There really wouldn't be any educational improvements because the building's going to look substantially like it does. When you do the math on that, I call this emergency prevention because a lot of these systems are kind of at the failure area of their useful life. So you want to prevent emergencies. But when you do the budget on that, it's about $105 million. So when you do a little bit of math on that, you would probably borrow in a 20-year bond because you're not building a whole new building, you're just doing systems. So 20 years would be reasonable. And current interest rates from the district, that would equate to about $8.3 million per year in budgetary impact. And without a referendum, that would most likely have to come from your general fund somewhere. We break this down into kind of the system. So we're not really doing anything elaborate here. You're talking about HVAC, electrical systems that are original to the building that need to be replaced, plumbing systems, many of them are original to the building, and anything prior to 1996. Areas of the building that don't have sprinkler systems, roofing, building envelope, which is like windows and door replacements, masonry repairs, and not really many interior surfaces, only things that would be touched in the process of doing the MEP work. You'd have minimal accessibility and safety upgrades. You would have to make sure that the elevator was operational and a couple other things, handrails, entrance ramps, et cetera. You would have to get rid of any concealed, hazardous material. And essentially that is the meat of the project. Now, when you do this, there's also some exterior work, asphalt, concrete that is crumbling, some of the retaining walls, stairs, all of that stuff. Now, when you do this project, it is still of scale. You don't have swing space in the building, so you would still need a modular series of classrooms to generate the swing space to be able to do the project. In addition, you couldn't start this project today. It still needs to be designed. So you have escalation, so you have construction cost escalation. You would again have design contingency because in a renovation project, you're much more likely to find things that you did not anticipate, especially in a building of this age. And then you would have construction contingency and then your professional services. So, at the minimum end, it's about $105 million. Again, there might be some things that you uncover as you tear this building apart that would inch that up as well. When you put that into the same pie chart, you can just kind of see how that breaks out. So then I was asked to do just a summary slide. So, if you had a failed referendum and you had to start investing in the building today, you could do this emergency prevention that I just went through, and that would be about an $8.3 million budgetary impact per year, modeled at about 20 years right now. Now, if you remember when we were looking at all options, there was an option, I forget 1 or 1A, to do a full renovation of this building, and that would kind of touch everything. But that number was $206 million. That would likely double the impact on your general fund. There is always the kind of run to failure, which is react when things break. Unfortunately, when you do that, they will tend to cost more when you aggregate it all, because when you do something in an emergency situation, it is typically going to cost more. You're going to have to expedite parts. You're going to be stuck with a like-for-like replacement. You don't have an opportunity to really update the system. You're just going to be in that repair, replace mode. Problem with that is it's going to be more disruptive because you can't predict when things are going to fail. Failure is inherently unpredictable, and it won't be easy to budget for because, again, things fail when they do. And sometimes they fail in bunches, and sometimes it's pieces. So those were the three things. I'm sure there are other scenarios that you could come up with, but those were the three most likely scenarios that we were able to come up with. With that, we're happy to field questions.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. The slide that we just looked at, I think it was slide number 9, you mentioned modular cost. Was that incorporated in the 100, the overall cost, or no? Any modular units?
Yes, the modulars are in the $105 million cost. That is this line item right here.
Okay,
That's modeled at about half of one of your grades. So half of grade 6, 7, or 8.
okay, and then also emergency and prevention, you mentioned 8.3 million a year for a 20-year bond. So 8.3 million a year for
20 years. So
Okay, 20.
that is just modeling the $105 million at current interest rates. I spoke with Mr. Leonetti. You've done some recent borrowing, so a 5% interest rate was used. 20 years was chosen because when you're doing a project of this magnitude on just systems, not the whole building, that seems to be an appropriate amount of time to borrow against.
Thank you.
So that's paying back that 20-year bond.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question regarding the time frame that would be predicted to finish your warm, safe, and dry approach to needs at the middle school.
Yeah, so you would still have about a 12 to 18 month design and permitting process, and then you still have a 3 to 4 year construction cycle. So don't have all that nailed down exactly, but somewhere in that range would be an expected time to complete.
So, and that would be full year, like
Yes.
12 months of 3 to 4 years of active
All through school,
repairs.
everything. That's why the modulars need to be there. There's no way to break this up into just summer only work. You would certainly have to have a modular farm, and you'd have to be shifting kids throughout those modular classrooms as you worked your way through segments of the building.
Okay. And it would be predicted that at any given time, half of the student population would be utilizing modulars. I know you said
Half of a grade.
half of a grade at any given time
At
through
any
that.
given time, correct.
Okay.
So they would be filtering through the modulars. That is
And
the,
where would the modulars be?
we haven't designed out where the
Okay.
modulars would go. We only did this as a first pass of
Right.
what we think the investment would be. We would still have to model out kind of where and how things would circulate, et cetera. Typically, you're going to put modulars in parking areas because you already have impervious surface. It's a good spot to put them.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a question about the design. If you can go back to the first slide. And this is if the, I'm sorry, the second slide. Third. Keep going. That one. Yeah, there we go.
The graphic.
The graphic. Thank you. This question is not about if the referendum does not pass. This question is if it does pass. Some community members were concerned about not being able to see something more concrete before they made their vote. I just wanted to know if you can speak towards how much does the design cost, because a big part of this was making sure that we were totally transparent and making this a community decision. And if we had invested the money for design, then that's not as transparent to me. That seems as though the board has already made a decision. So I just wanted to speak to how much does it cost for the design work, the blueprints, in order to present something to the public?
Yeah, to get to a presentable schematic that's reflective of what you would build, it would be $2 to $3 million easily.
Okay.
And that would depend on how far you want to bring that design before you show it to the public, because as you evolve it, it is going to change a little bit. So it's a little bit, if you do too little and it looks one way and then you show everybody and then it ends up looking differently for a variety of reasons. I mean, you also are working through a land development process. They might force some changes that we're not aware of yet. So the building configuration could change a little bit as you work your way through that. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, just one of the advantages you have today is people no longer start with images like this. You're actually building a model from the start. So it's within the first 10% of the total fee that you actually have something that you can walk through and understand what it looks like. So I agree with Phil that there's a time frame where there is some adjustment, but once you get to a certain point, it's not being adjusted greatly. It's something that you would know exactly what you're looking at. And if you decide that you want something different, you change it as part of that. It's just part of the iterative process.
Okay.
But just to follow on to that, so for states where referendum is the way that they do construction, this is the best practice. You don't invest a bunch of money up front. You go get the funding first by using the methodology that we used, sizing, program, and then you develop the program after that. And the design comes after the voters have determined whether they would support or not. And there's a variety of reasons, because in other states, a lot of times a school district will go to referendum several times before they have the right, approach dialed in. So if you had to pay millions of dollars every time, you'd end up wasting quite a bit of money. So this is a best practice from referendum states to do it this way.
Thank you for that.
Other questions? Ms. Wu? No? I have just a small question about the square footage per student that we currently have in the middle school versus what we will have, which is still on the low end for middle schools in the county. And if I understood you correctly, that was partly because we are a bigger building.
Yeah, you're
right?
definitely getting economies of scale.
Okay.
Size of the building that you're in.
Okay.
So cafeteria, gym, all of that is distributed among a lot more students than, say, 1,000 student middle school.
Right.
Whereas David was saying those common spaces they're not double that. They're some percentage larger.
Right.
Than student middle school.
Right. But I guess the point I was trying to get at is that should the referendum pass and we do the new middle school, students will have 20 square feet more of elbow room, which is a way of saying that they're pretty cramped right now, right? That they are under space by 20 square foot per student.
That's certainly one way to look at it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, compared to the typicals. And the typicals are tricky, but that is, they're rules of thumb for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Thank you.
I have a question. For the renovations, when you have the systems, electrical, plumbing, and I think it was something else there.
Mechanical.
Okay. Would that include the I think it's called pre-code requirements? You used that language a while back. Would that satisfy the pre-code
So
requirements?
it would satisfy, anything that will touch will have to be to current code. But there is a lot of existing things that are not up to current ADA code, for example, some of your stairwells, things that we would not be touching. We would work with the authority having jurisdiction to ensure that we could leave those as is. They are grandfathered into whatever code they were built under. So the number would be much larger if we did have to bring everything up to current code. The 105 million is just to do HVAC, some of the old mechanical, electrical, plumbing, the fire systems, roof systems, what we would consider kind of the warm, safe, dry components of the building, just to make sure that you don't have failures and leaks and all those kind of things that would interrupt education.
Thank you.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry.
It's okay.
So in this scenario, then, we would be unlikely to have a middle school that would be ADA compliant.
It would not. That is not what is modeled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that
Would
clarification.
not be that. In addition, this is really just the systems behind the walls. That would not prevent you from having other money you'd have to invest for all the other systems. You know, if you remember, there was a renovation number I flashed up about $400 and some per square foot. This is less than 200. So you can imagine there's all those other systems in the building, you know, flooring, ceiling, all the things that you use that would still be well beyond their useful life, and you would just be repairing as they broke, essentially.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
That was actually my question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Great minds.
Yep.
And just to piggyback off of that, I do want to remind my colleagues and the community that that the ADA compliance is very important, even financially. We just approved a bid, or did we approve the contract for a $300,000 lift chair
Purchase.
purchase?
It was a purchase.
Right? Was that for the middle school?
Yes.
Yeah. So those purchases add up over time. And our students who are confined to a wheelchair or have any other restriction should not impede their access to a full building. If a STEM lab is on the 3rd floor and a student can't get there, that's not okay. So inclusion cost, and it is worth every penny.
Yeah, we were tasked with what's the minimum investment you could put into the building to kind of keep it operational. So that, you know, maybe if you wanted us to look at ADA, we would have to fix a lot of the ADA issues in the building. You really do have to tear the building apart. It's not an easy building to fix, just when it was built and what the codes were at the time. We can certainly come up with that number if that's something you'd like us to do, though.
It's important. Whether you had an injury and you're temporarily on crutches or in a wheelchair, or if that is your way of life, it is important that our students and our faculty has access to a full building, and that we have an inclusive mindset when we build.
Mrs. Brown, would you like to ask for the cost of bringing the building up into ADA compliance?
Herein lies the problem. You can get the numbers for us to bring it up to ADA compliance. Our budget does not allow for us to cover it. So if the referendum does not pass, whether we have the numbers or not, there's nowhere else to get that money from based on what I'm hearing. So no, I'm not inclined to ask for that to happen, because I'm asking for something that I know we can't do. What I am asking for is for my community members to see that it's more than having a pretty building. This is, it affects our educational programming. It affects access for students, and that collectively, we can fund one of the most important things that we have in our community, and that is education. So that is what I'm asking for. So no, I'm not asking for how much would it cost, because I know we don't have it.
Okay.
I'm asking for people to vote yes.
Okay,
And
thank you for clarifying that.
I cringe at the slide, right? The slides referencing a failed referendum, because a failed referendum means year after year of budget impact. To Ms. Brown's point, that would be hard to stomach, that would be hard to absorb as a district. And it means we have to start asking questions about what do we go without. And sometimes that's an important question to have, and those are important conversations to have. And all of us on the dais, we're having that conversation, but we shouldn't have to say we're going to go without ADA compliance. We shouldn't say we're going to go without a speedy addressing, or as quick as possible addressing of systems that are at the end of their useful life. And, just doing the bare minimum and then still knowing that other disruptions are going to occur, other failures are going to occur. And we're kicking the can down the road when, as a community, we can make this happen. As a community, we absolutely can make this happen.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you for that.
Can I add just a couple of things? Some other concerns when I look at this plan, I think about having all of our students and teachers in a building while this level of construction is happening. That in itself gives me pause, let alone for it to happen for 4 continuous years. So we'd have students that go through the building and have this level of construction happening the entire time without getting the outcomes that are associated with it that would be more beneficial to the community. Something to consider. And the other thing I was thinking about when we talk about general funds and utilizing a large chunk to fund this, which Mrs. Brown explained that, we wouldn't have access to more funds. I also think of our other district buildings and what do we do in the case that we have an emergency that presents over that 4 to 5 year period, or actually the 20-year period, where we're now adding an additional cost. Where do we find that money to address contingencies that present in our other buildings? So I appreciate having this presentation tonight to put a place of reference, but again, I see that it just exemplifies the importance and the implications of a failed referendum, and really just reinforces the importance of it passing for our community and residents.
Thank you.
Just go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
And just forgive me if I'm not very eloquent tonight. I've been up since 5 a.m. But coming back to what Ms. Brown and Mr. Muhammad were saying, going ahead and continuing to put money into a building that not all students can access. And we need to think about whether or not that's something that we can really live with. If we are going to go ahead and continue to invest in a building, in a school building that we're going to go ahead and send all of our children to without adequate access for all of those students.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. I have one final question. Given the age of the building, there is certainly asbestos in there. And that concerns me given the sort of the movement of students, right? So we're rotating certain numbers of students out of the building while work is being done, but that means that most students would be in the building. I know there are safety procedures for cordoning off spaces so that asbestos does not become airborne. But that doesn't make me feel comfortable because no system is perfect. And, in addition to the significant budget impact, the inability to bring the building up to ADA compliance, the fact that we're going to have hard conversations about cuts to programs in order to fund this Band-Aid, essentially, and safety risks to kids who are going to be in the building. I mean, we keep coming back to the same answer. The referendum has to pass. But thank you very much for your presentation, gentlemen, and for laying the facts out before the community.
Thank you.
Okay. That takes us to our first section of comments from citizens. Comments from citizens are being conducted both in person and by phone, as usual. The phone number to participate in public comments is being displayed now, 267-715-3717. You'll be able to join the meeting by calling in on your mobile or landline phone. A citizen will be recognized once during this period of the meeting, and each citizen's comments will be limited to a total of 3 minutes, except at the discretion of the president. Time may not be yielded or otherwise transferred by one speaker to another for purposes of extending a given speaker's time allotment. If there's anyone present who would like to make a comment, please use the microphone either to your left or to the right. And we'll start with in-person comments. Go ahead.
Joe Rooney in Ardsley. Why we should vote no on the referendum. When asked to spend $285 million, we should be extremely cautious. This referendum is worded so poorly that there are no limitations on either the rate of the bonds or the term of the bonds. Where you're being asked to approve a referendum question in which there are no plans for the building, no limits on the interest rate, and no limit on the term of the bond. It will be 6 years before the new school building will be occupied. There are so many questions still in people's minds that it is only prudent to take 6 months to a year, thoroughly address the concerns and questions people have, and present an actual plan for the proposed building. We have a building now that is worth at least $50 million. It was well designed and well built. It is steel reinforced concrete. The main building was built in 5 modules and is easily renovated and remodeled. Little Theater is in fine shape and easily meets the needs of 12 to 14-year-old kids. The science wing was only constructed in 1996. It is 30,000 square feet, 11% of the school. It is in great shape. The gyms are in fine shape and have many decades of useful life. The administration wing and the library are in great shape, and the library is beautiful. Why wasn't the library included in the public tours? Tearing down these valuable assets is wasteful and short-sighted. It will cost millions of dollars to rebuild these educational spaces, and we will gain nothing. There are many creative, professional people in Abington and Rockledge who, with a little time and thought, can develop an outstanding plan for how we can modify and renovate the existing building without throwing out all the value we already have. Sadly, our current school leadership has intentionally neglected the North Campus building. The roof should have been replaced years ago. The bathrooms badly need renovation, and there is no reason this hasn't already been completed. ASD had $50 million in our fund balance. This money was available for PESER's funding and capital projects. Some of these funds should have been used these last 10 years to update the current building. It is an indication of mismanagement that this building needs such work. ASD leadership had a 10-year plan in 2023 to completely update the current building. They discarded that plan with no explanation. Education is a combination of excellent teachers, quality curriculum, and engaged parents and leadership. This should be the focus of our spending. With the problems we have in ASD currently, a $285 million poorly planned and rushed capital project is a distraction from what is really needed for our kids, our teachers, and our community. Please visit www.commonsenseabington.com for more information, and we encourage all our neighbors to vote no on May 20th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe O'Brien, Glenside. Okay. When you sell something at auction, you hope you have at least two bidders because they get in a battle with each other and you get more money out of it. When you have something built, you don't want one bidder because they can justify everything. You want two bidders because that will bring both their prices down. When you have one bidder, they can justify anything. They can justify $285 million. If we had somebody else here with them who is bidding against them, it might be $200 million. But you haven't bothered to do that. You picked one company and said, this is where we're going, with no plans, no drawings, nothing. If you went to a bank and asked for a mortgage with what you have now, they'd laugh you out of the building. You have nothing to justify this money. I hope everyone can recognize that and votes no, because there is no reason to justify this money.
Thank you.
Yeah, John Gallagher, 1054 Arbuda Road. Who will be responsible for all the overruns when this thing starts going?
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Matthew Palmer. I live on Carmet Road. So what I've heard so far from citizens' comments are interesting to me because it represents, in my mind, a lack of understanding of how things actually work. Because you obviously, as has just been stated by the gentlemen who have presented to us, you need to have funding in order to create a plan so that you can present a plan to your community. You can't create the plan without the funding in the first place. It seems pretty straightforward that you have to pay an architect to do that design work for you. Aside from that, I would really like to ask my community members how they feel about their police force, their fire force, their hospitals. Would you send your loved one to a hospital functioning at 20% effectiveness? Would you send police force out on the streets with 20% of their equipment functional? Would you send the fire force? Maybe their radios don't work. Maybe the ambulances don't function correctly. We only have part of the equipment functioning in the school as it is currently, with a good, I think, if I understand correctly, 60 to 80% of the remaining facilities ready to fail at any moment. Would you send the military in equipment that only sort of works? Would you send sailors in a submarine that may or may not break down while it's underwater? I don't think you would. So why would we send our kids to a school that's partially functional?
Thank you for your voice. Anyone else in the room?
He was next.
Paul E. Morris Jr., Jenkintown, Pennsylvania. I have a couple questions. The board used to answer questions. Is this board in a position, do we answer questions now, or?
This is an opportunity for you to share your thoughts and make comments to the board. This is not a give and take.
Answer questions.
This is not a give and take.
Okay. Well, I'll propose the questions anyway. I notice there's $36 million in the bottom figure there. And I guess that's for the consultants on the no bid contract. I guess that's what that's for. I don't think it's appropriate. I mean, the gentleman before me spoke about business practices and things like that. It really should be a contract that is bid. Shouldn't be a no bid. I noticed that there's 2,200 students proposed or anticipated. That's what we have now, I guess. I'd also like to say that ADA compliant, one of the main areas is elevators. And elevators can certainly be added on the outside very easily. They do that a lot. That's engineering capability. I noticed that in the figures today presented were $55 million in contingencies. I find that really high and should be a lot lower. One of the residents, community members said, one good way to pay for this would have each resident pay $10 a person. Sounds like a darn good idea to me. So we got 58,000 people in Abington, $10 a person for 40 years. I think that might be a good way to do it. And the other thing I guess I would say is, has Abington School District looked at talking with Bruce Toll and purchasing the St. Basil's property as an interim while the community and the school district sort this out? I think putting this on the ballot for May when the voter turnout is very low, I think that might have been done on purpose. I don't think it's appropriate. I think we need to step back and involve the entire community to come up with a cost-effective program for education and the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jen Pertel, Glenside. A couple things. One, I believe that this has been a 3-year process so far. There have been assessments of the school, there have been surveys, there have been running numbers and cost estimates and all that. This is not a, seat of the pants operation at all. You guys have been working on this with professionals for a long time, and I appreciate all that work you did. And I look forward to, hopefully this passing and we get to see what the next phase of this is. The St. Basil's suggestion has been made before, and again, I can't understand why we would want to buy property when we have school district property already, why we would want to buy a piece of land that has a building as old as the one we're trying to replace, that will only fit a quarter of the students that we currently have enrolled in our middle school, would not fit the staff, in terms of parking. We would have no fields, and I would be curious to see what the neighbors around St. Basil's would think about suddenly having 2,200 students, staff, and administrators funneling through their neighborhood. I'm pretty sure that they would have to have a comment or two about that. But as far as the referendum and the question we have in front of us, it is not, do we want to spend money on the middle school? We are going to spend money on the middle school, no matter what. The question is, what do we want to get for our money? And I personally would not want to spend $105 million on patching a school that is at the end of its lifespan, that is not sized or designed for today's education needs, and it's not going to get better. It's just going to have to keep getting patched. And then if one of the other plans was renovation, that would be $205 million. Again, working with the core building, which is not sized or designed for today. Personally, I would like us to invest in a brand new building that will last for decades. And then we will have this space that is fit for the kids that we have going to the schools now and in the future, for our teachers, for our staff, and generally, it's just good for our community. And I will be voting yes to invest on May 20th. Thank you.
Thank you for your voice. At this time, we will turn to people who are calling in for comment.
Yes, the next citizen for public comment is phone number ending in 1437. Please state your full name and address.
Hi, good evening. Laura Schlagenhofer, Rosemont Lane.
Hi.
Hello. I've been an Abington resident for 35 years. I'm the product of private Catholic education, and I chose public school for my children, particularly Abington School District. I've been a parent in this district since 2007. I want to speak to the vitriolic rhetoric and purposeful spread of misinformation I've seen around the community, questioning the integrity of our volunteer school board and the quality of our teachers. If we're going to question them, let's question the previous school boards that kicked this can down the road. leaving us where we are today. Is this the game we want to play or the community that we want? It's embarrassing. The board I see before me are people that care about our students and this community's future. People who want to give our children the highest quality education possible in the most conducive learning environment. People who are forward thinkers that understand the challenges of the past and are committed to moving this district forward. I understand the burden that higher taxes will cause, but if we continue to band-aid this problem, we will only leave it for the next generation to solve at a much higher cost. Mrs. Brown, I want to commend your commitment to ensuring inclusivity for our students of all abilities. My child attended autistic support classes, and there is only one classroom in the middle school, one box where they spend their entire day for lack of other options. My vote is yes. Yes is a vote of confidence in our committed and dedicated leadership, and yes to the future of our community, my children's community. Thank you.
Thank you for your voice.
The next caller for public comment, phone number ending in 3984. Please state your full name and address.
Hi, Michael Seigenhofer, Rosemont Lane. First, I want to say that the members of this board have my full support. They're doing incredible work and devote much of their time to what is clearly a thankless job because they care about our community, our schools, and our children. The next thing I want to say is there are maybe, 5 main groups on Facebook where people spend all day arguing about building a new middle school. One of the most insidious things I see are anonymous posters who just have, quote, random questions like, how will this be paid for? Or who is planning this? And what will the tax increase be and over what period of time? But they know the answer. These are purposeful questions designed to foment discord and dissent among the general public reading this who are genuinely curious and do not yet have all the information they need. They also ask them despite knowing the answers already. And I know they know the answers because there's always somebody in the comments saying all the information you need is on oneasd1future.com. I encourage you to all go there, and I promise you your questions are answered on that site. It's really extensive and informative. I can't say who these anonymous people are. Maybe it's clear to some people, and perhaps they're signaling who they are to their comrades. But I can't really tell. I'll be honest, I don't really understand Morse code. One of the complaints I see is the cost for the project management company to put on a solid presentation today. It's a multi-year project to start in 2026 and extending to 2030. It's 4 years of overseeing all the planning, general contractors, subcontractors, and employees that will be working on it. It's a massive undertaking for us. We'll use a lot of staff, and it's really not that much money for the amount of work they're going to have to do. If you don't understand that, I swear you're a little divorced from reality. Go hire one engineering firm to put a 400 square foot addition onto your property. What I will say is there's a cost of building a new school and a cost of just making repairs and upgrades. But it's really just silencing a smoke alarm by pulling out the battery if all you're going to do is make repairs and upgrades. That's going to be $105 million out of the general fund for the ASD. It's a zero-sum game. That money will come from other things the school district has to pay for. It might be sports. It might be extracurriculars. It might be making repairs in the elementary and high schools, any number of things. Whatever else it is, it's robbing Peter to pay Paul, and in the end, all it gets you is 10 to 15 years down the road, having to replace the building anyway when a new tax bill comes due and materials costs and labor costs are higher than they are today. This is common sense. A vote yes. My vote's yes. And since I'm still under my time, go Birds. Thank you.
Thank you for your voice. Mr. Cargas?
The next citizen for public comment, phone number ending in 2534. Please state your full name and address.
Good evening. Full name is Ross Hamilton, Dr. Ross Hamilton, Argyle Road, Glenside.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. First off, thank you to the school board for this evening information and for those who presented it. It was really helpful in securing my position. I am in full support of the referendum to build a new middle school. My wife and I have 3 children in the district, 12th grader, 8th grader, and 1st grader. My 2 oldest daughters have matriculated through the middle school and have never hesitated to share about their just being upset about this disrepair of the building and frustration with it. And as a parent, who have gone into the building countless times over the last couple of years. I've seen it firsthand. In addition, they are all athletes, right? So they have, which has afforded us the opportunity to visit a variety of local middle schools like Sandy Run, Cedarbrook, Colonial, and now the soon-to-be state-of-the-art facility at Keith Valley in Hatboro Horsham. And it just the level of disrepair that we're seeing on our facilities, it just cannot equate to what we're seeing when we're visiting these other buildings. So hopefully my son, who's in first grade, will benefit in the future from a new building. And if so be it, if it misses his timeline, well, I'm a taxpayer and I'm willing to pay for the next generation of students who can benefit from a new facility. So I'm in full support of it, and thank you for the presentation, and have solidified my position. Thank you.
Thank you for your voice. Mr. Kargas?
Okay, the next citizen for public comment, phone number ending in 9653. Please state your full name and address.
Thank you for your voice.
Sierra Myers, 1060 Maple Avenue.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Hold on. One of the reasons why we need a new middle school is that the science wing and gym are a disaster. There's little to no air conditioning in both, especially when you're running around and playing games in the gym. It's extremely hot. One reason why the science wing is a disaster is for mostly the same reason. It's very humid and hot, and when we're moving around the room, it's very warm. And there's also fights every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Kira. Mr. Kargas?
Next citizens for public comment, phone number ending in 5155. Please state your full name and address.
Hi.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay, we're having trouble hearing you.
Okay.
Now we can.
Jennifer Small.
Great, now we can hear you. Perfect.
Okay, great. Sorry.
No, that's good.
Small, Shellmeyer Street. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for the additional information and laying out what the cost would be for, continuing to kick the can down the line and just make the bare minimum of repairs. I think there are so many reasons, and I know there are so many reasons why I and many community members are voting yes. But as someone who works with students with disabilities, I'm very familiar with the Americans with Disabilities Act as amended, and I would just want to reiterate that not providing access to students is wrong to all of our students who deserve a free and appropriate public education. And if some people believe that adding an elevator to the outside of a building would bring it up to ADA compliance, you need to read through the regs. It is so much more than adding an elevator. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Next
Kargas?
citizen for public comment, phone number ending in 4251. Please state your full name and address.
Hi, it's Paul Rinko, and we live on Susquehanna Road. And I'm a first-time caller, first-time listener, and I just wanted to say a couple things. First off, I have 2 engineering degrees and 2 business degrees, and I came into this with a very open mind, and after going through that presentation, which was suggested by some of the Facebook pages, I don't think that a reasonable person could come to any different conclusion other than what you guys have done, and that's absolutely amazing. And the cost for the project is, it would have been great if we would have done this 10 years ago when it was half the amount, but it is what it is. And if you look overall at the taxes that we pay living in Abington versus the surrounding communities, even with this assessment, it's still significantly lower than any of the other townships. And I say that begrudgingly as a Cheltenham Panther alum. And we chose to live in Abington because of that. But I just wanted to say thank you, and we're a definite yes over here.
Thank you for your voice, and welcome to the meeting. Don't be a stranger. Mr. Kargas, can you confirm that there are no other callers on the line?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to make a comment?
Hi, Carol Godfrey, 1021 Devon Road, Jenkintown, and I live near St. Basil's. So during COVID, we had a lot of meetings online. There must have been 300 people, and they were not happy with having 100 townhouses built. So I can't imagine what it would be like to have that group show up here with concerns about putting 2,200 kids over there. Once again, I'd like to encourage the Abington community to vote yes on May 20th for the referendum to build a new middle school. Over the past 2 weeks, I was thinking about when I went to Abington High School at that time. A new high school had been built in 1957, and several years later in the 60s, I was lucky enough to attend one of the nicest high schools in the area, Abington Senior High. Yes, my parents paid taxes at that time, and so did a lot of other people pay taxes that lived in Abington that no longer had children in the district. My parents knew how important education was. We actually moved to Abington because of the reputation of the schools, and I am grateful that we did. I would like to encourage all Abington residents, no matter your age, to pay it forward and vote yes for the referendum so that we can invest in the next generation of children and grandchildren. And remember, as I've said here before, a community is only as good as the school district. Thank you.
Thank you for your voice.
Hello, my name's Joe Dunn. I live on Zane Avenue in Jenkintown. I don't have any written down thing to say or anything, and I've really been paying attention to this, and I think I respect both sides a lot, and the kids are what's important. I'm an educator, retired, of nurses, and this amount of money, $250 million, well, plus, is a lot of bucks. And I look at the sign up there, Abington, excellence is our standard, achievement is the result. And coming to the meetings a few weeks ago when they were talking about the poor results you're having in the school district, which I'm not blaming anyone for that, but I know that $250 million isn't the problem that needs to be spent to get these kids a better education. It's the caring. And when I think about the kids in 40 years and $285 million, which of course everyone knows is going to end up more than that because in life that's what always happens. And I'm not saying you don't care about the kids, but caring about the kids to me is, and the tax thing, not that there's anything wrong with people and paying taxes and living in a good community. And before I moved to Abington, I've heard about Abington just because of that school district. But talking about paying taxes, your children will be paying that much 40 years, which is going to go up, and your grandchildren. So I think it just seems, I know this has been an ongoing process, but it seems like there's this big rush at the end. And I appreciate these gentlemen doing that update today. But I think that update would have been good 6 months ago so people could think about voting in less than a month. So I would be, if I had my way, I'm going to vote no. And not that I don't care about it, because I care very, very much. But I think we still need to just step back, continue that process a little bit. I mean, it's been that long already, and it's going to take 6 years to build it. If we take another 6 months and just really get into this and look it over, there's always going to be extremes on both sides, but I think we just need to meet in the middle and think about this as intelligent adults, which I believe we all are. Thank you.
Thank you for your voice. Anyone else? Okay. That will conclude our first section of comments from citizens, and then we will move on to, Dr. Fetcher, do you want to respond to anything?
I just want to remind, if there are specific questions that people have, please reach out. On the 1ASD1Future.org website, there's an opportunity to ask questions, and you will receive a response. Often those questions, when we receive multiple versions of the questions, have become frequently asked questions, so that other people have the opportunity to see the answers to those questions, and sometimes that actually creates more questions. So I think if you have come to a board meeting and you have specific questions and you feel that they're not answered, please do that and you will receive an answer.
Okay. And just to clarify, the website is 1ASD1Future.org.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I would also encourage folks to go there if they're looking for reliable information. The district has done a great job at making that available to community members.
Also on there, some of the questions that we've been asked, if we do receive similar questions from a large number of people or a few people even at that matter, we have posted maybe more of a detailed response to the question by including some graphs and numbers that are questions that people have asked. So we keep updating the site, check back. It's not something that was just built and then is done. It's a moving information site as well.
Okay. All right, great. I assume we have no additional agenda items to be brought forward? No? Okay. All right. With that, we will move on to agenda item number 5, personnel. Ms. Eisenhart.
Right, that the Board of School Directors approves the changes in personnel as reflected in personnel addendums number 5.1 and 5.1A.
Second.
We have a second, Dr. Fetcher.
Thank you, Dr. Mowry. The personnel addendum begins with requests for leaves of absence for 5 professional staff members, compensation for IP meetings, and interpreter and translation services. Now on to some retirements. I bring your attention to the retirement of Mr. Christopher Lionetti, our Chief Financial Officer, as well as the Board Secretary for Abington School District, who has served the district for 32 years. Next, I bring your attention to Ms. Robin Zaper, a mathematics teacher at Abington Middle School, who has served the district for 30 years. Ms. Melanie Grubb, special education teacher at Willow Hill Elementary School, who has served the district for 34 years. Ms. Marion Hoffman, a mathematics teacher at Abington Senior High School, who has served the district for 25 years. Bring your attention to Ms. Deborah Lee, president of our Abington Education Association for the past 16 years, and elementary teacher at Roslyn Elementary School, who has served the district for 23 years. And Ms. Sarah O'Rourke, an administrative assistant in a pupil service department, who has served the district for 20 years. So with that, begrudgingly, I bring some of these retirements to you for recommendation.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to vote no on those. I know my fellow board members have thoughts and feelings, so we will start with Mrs. Brown.
Yes. One, congratulations to everyone who is retiring. I will speak on 2 of them tonight. Starting with Mr. Lionetti, my time here on the board, you helped me to understand the budget in a clear way. You have made yourself accessible and you speak with clarity, so I appreciate that. You are a very compassionate person, and you hold excellence in high regard. When you make a mistake, you're not afraid to admit it. And sometimes I think you ponder over it a little too much. But that's the standard of excellence that you have. You're not only great at your job, but I believe that you are a great human being, and you will truly be missed. I pray that during this time you enjoy your family and travel. And big shoes to fill, as I'm sure my colleagues will reiterate. But you are an amazing person who is very, 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 very talented at what you chose to do as a professional. So I appreciate you, and you will definitely be missed. Okay, Miss Debbie Lee. What can I say? A lot. You have a flair about you that you're unapologetic about, your passion for students, and the way that you praise teachers. As an educator myself, you will stand up and fight for your colleagues, and I really respect that. I want to thank you for all the prayers, because I know you pray for me and you pray for my family, and that resonates with me deeply. You will be missed, but I know you have some grandbabies to love on who will have extra time with you while in your retirement. So I deeply appreciate all you are and all that you stand for, okay? And you will be missed.
Ms. Eisenhart.
To the teachers and staff that were honored tonight with their retirements, I hope that you enjoy this time. It's well-deserved, and the district will forever be in gratitude for the service and the contributions that you made on our community and our children. It lasts a lifetime, and I thank you for your time and efforts, specifically at Abington. For Mr. Leonetti, coming into this board, you made things that seemed impossible to understand approachable. You did it through kindness, and I will never forget the impact that you made on me and my role here personally. I wish you nothing but good things, and your heart is gold, so enjoy it.
Mr. Muhammad.
As an educator, I'm always so happy to see educators make it to the end. It is a challenging field, and those 10 months are hard. And those summers are important. And we know that even in the summer, we're spending time focusing on what we're going to do next year. And we're getting professional development. And we're still connected to the work in some way throughout the summer. And of course, put it down and enjoy the time and go to the shore and everything else. But these students, they live with you. Right, and they're in your hearts, and they're on your minds, and what you want to bring to them becomes very important. And so, people who dedicate their lives to children and the upbringing of children, other people's children, and you make those people's children your children, not just for the school year that you have them, because the impact that you bring to their lives, it carries them for many, many years. And so, Ms. Lee, congratulations. I know we have not had a lot of engagement, but I've heard you and I've seen you, and I'm so very happy for you and your retirement. And so I pray that is a blessed one and a long one, and come back anytime, because I know you're a member of this community. Mr. Leonetti, everyone's going to say that you've taught them so much. Right, and when we start on the school board, it's the beginning of budget season. And it's one of the most foreign concepts when you're not sitting at the dais and receiving this information. And so in those early sessions, you're just like, what is happening? Right, and you have to go back and you share your information, you share your phone number, you encourage people to send you emails, and you always avail yourself. There's no time where you say, I'm not going to get back to you. There's no time where you say, I'll get back to you, and we have to wait. more than a couple of hours. You reach back out, you present information, you're a man of your word. If we say, hey, I don't know something, you say, all right, I'll get something together, and you get it together for us. And it enriches all of us, and it deepens our understanding, and it makes our jobs a little bit easier. And so thank you for the work that you've put in over these past 32 years, was it? Thank you for the 4 years that I've known you, gotten to know you, and gotten to just learn from you and grow as a result of my engagements with you. I'm so happy that you get to take it down a little bit, and you get to relax, and you get to enjoy life outside of the hustle and bustle of Abington School District. We've been in great hands with you, and you'll be missed, and your influence will be missed, but we'll be okay. And so thank you for all that you've done.
Ms. Spalding?
The only retiree I know is Mr. Linetti, and I'm going to miss you because, you know, like you were able to answer a lot of questions and explain things. I too am a retiree, so now you have time, like I do, to give back to your community. But the best thing about retirement is I get to sleep till I wake up. Good luck to you and yours.
I can't wait for that.
Ms. Hartman?
Mr. Lionetti, I echo what everyone else has said. The one word that the theme of everyone's comments has been your dedication to your role, to the school district. And when I started last year in January, that budget process, what you just said, it's very overwhelming as a new board member. And your offers to sit down with me, to explain it to me, to answer all of my questions, you were always available, you were always kind, you were always prepared. No question was ever too simple. No question was, you know, stupid. You answered every question with grace. Always professional, always ready to prepare more information if needed, and just always went above and beyond your role. And I think this is a great opportunity for you. For us, it's a huge loss, and we'll feel it. But I wish you the best in your future, and I hope that your retirement brings you and your family a lot of happiness. And Ms. Lee, thank you for your dedication to the students of Abington for so long. Your enthusiasm around kids and teaching is just so apparent every time you stand up and speak. And I know I don't know you well, but I'm sure that the students that you've taught have been affected, and you've changed their lives. So good luck and best wishes, and enjoy your retirement.
Ms. Fraser?
Both of you, I adore you, and congratulations. I wish you the best for your retirement. Continue blessing the world.
Ms. Facey?
Retirement season always gets me. It's never easy. There's always somebody. And so, but I wish you both the best, Ms. Lee, Mr. Lionetti. And special thanks to Mr. Lionetti. The past 4 years, you've taught so much. And I feel, yeah, definitely budget season, you come in on budget season and you're like, wow, these are really big numbers. But you are so gracious and so patient, and you really help us understand it, which is so important. And so thank you so much for being who you are, and I wish you all the best in retirement. And thank you to all of our retirees.
That was a lot of heart. Ms. Wu?
Even though I only took this position, a few months ago, and I don't know either of you that well, but you guys seem like amazing people, and thank you for making me feel welcome.
So, the only pitfall of serving with 8 incredibly eloquent colleagues is that I now have a hard act to follow. I want to congratulate all of our retirees. Again, a lot of institutional knowledge and dedication there. And we are grateful for all that everyone has given. Ms. Lee, I have so much respect for you as a fellow educator, as a labor leader, as someone who is a champion for public education. It is rare to find people who understand both the big picture and the granular impact. And you are among the very best of those people. I'm happy for you. I am. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss your energy, your commitment, your conviction. I spent my day getting to read to some of our grade school students, and I thought about visiting your class a year ago and seeing that same energy brimming over in those kids, and thinking about how valuable our teachers are. And you have worked hard, not only with your own students in your own classroom, but to make this district one that really values our educators. So thank you for your vision, for your commitment, for your backbone, and for your care of your students. And since you're a community member, I'm going to tell you straight up, do not be a stranger to these meetings. We expect to see you back here. Okay. All right. Mr. Lionetti. Mrs. Brown and I came on to this board at the same time. I have never met anyone who is as gracious, as patient, and as clear as you have been with me through all the crazy questions and all the hypotheticals that I put to you during these past years. I think when I came onto the board, this is an experience that a lot of us had. I mean, I looked at the budget and you could have started with, these are numbers. That's how much I knew about budgeting. But you have been not only an incredibly good steward of this district's finances, but a very patient guide for many of us. And Ms. Hartman is absolutely right. We are going to miss you. We are going to miss you as a colleague, as a professional, and I dare to say, as a friend. I wish you well, but also don't be a stranger. So we will continue to look forward to working with you for the next few months. And we'll just leave it at that for tonight, I think. But congratulations. Oh, dear. All right, that takes us to agenda item number 6, Ms. Eisenhart.
All right, the vote.
We gotta vote on it?
Oh,
Now we gotta vote on it too.
I'm so sorry. Do we? All right, Ms. Flanagan.
Make it final.
Fine. Go ahead.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Eisenhart?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Spalding?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Ms. Frazier?
Aye.
Ms. Maisy?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
I feel very grudging about this, but aye. Now we can move on to agenda item 6.
Okay. That the Board of School Directors approves the financial report for the period ending March 31st, 2025 as reflected in addendum number 6.1.
Second.
Dr. Fetcher, we have a second.
Thank you, Dr. Mowry. At this time, as he still works here, I'm going to ask Mr. Lionetti to summarize the March 2025 financial report.
Thank you, Dr. Fetcher. For the period ending March 31st, 2025, real estate tax collections are ahead $6 million when compared to the same time period in 2024. Year-to-date, total revenue is $6.7 million ahead of last year at $165.2 million. As of March of 2024, the district had collected $155.8 million in total revenue. The difference is due to the 5.3% Act 1 index real estate tax increase in 24-25, as well as greater receipts of delinquent taxes, interest earnings, and real estate transfer taxes, as well as the increased state basic education, special education funding that we received this year. Year-to-date expenditures are $128 million, which is $1.7 million greater than this time last year at $126.3 million. In terms of the percent of budget, 64.2% of the budget is expended year-to-date. Last year through March, 66.5% of the budget was expended. If there are any questions regarding the financial report, we'll be happy to answer them.
Questions from my colleagues?
The increase, I believe you said 1.7. Did you say 1.7 million?
Yes.
Can you give a general, I know we receive budget updates and the board approves over time, but can you give a general response for why such an increase between last year and this year?
The majority of our expenses, as you know, are wages and benefits. You have contractual agreements with all of your collective bargaining units, and all those folks did receive increases for this year compared to last year. Cost of benefits go up proportionately with that, as well as medical benefits, which is the greatest extent of your budget.
Thank you so much for that.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Mrs. Flanagan, this is a roll call vote.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Eisenhart?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Spalding?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Ms. Frazier?
Aye.
Ms. Fazy?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
Aye. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Ms. Eisenhart, can you please read the recommendation for approval of the payment of bills?
That the Board of School Directors approves the payment of bills for the period ending March 31st, 2025 as reflected in addendum number 7.1.
Second.
Dr. Fetcher, we have a second.
Thank you, Dr. Mowry. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the payment of bills.
Questions from the board? All right. Ms. Flanagan, if you would, please.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Eisenhart?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Spalding?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Ms. Frazier?
Aye.
Ms. Fazy?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
Aye. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Ms. Eisenhart, could you please read the recommendation for permits for use of buildings and grounds?
That the Board of School Directors approves the applications for permits for use of buildings and grounds as reflected in addendum number 8.1.
Second.
Dr. Fetcher, we have a second.
Thank you, Dr. Mowry. The permit addendum continues to reflect requests for buildings and grounds for meetings and other school activities for this time of year.
Okay. I want to thank our teachers who make many of these opportunities available for our students. And I also want to just take a moment to note that we have 52 community organizations that use our facilities for at cost or no cost? At cost, typically, right?
Depends on the classification of the.
Okay. Minimal cost.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to the value that this community sees in the district and our facilities. So I just wanted to point that out for anyone who might be listening. Other comments or questions from my board colleagues? No? Okay, Mrs. Flanagan, if you would, please.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Eisenhart?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Spalding?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Ms. Frazier?
Aye.
Ms. Fazy?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
Aye. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Ms. Eisenhart, could you please read the recommendation for awards of contracts?
That the Board of School Directors approves the awards of contracts as reflected in addendum number 9.1.
Second.
Dr. Fetcher, we have a second.
Thank you, Dr. Mowry. Tonight, for your consideration, we have one award of contract and one Montgomery County School Entities Joint Purchasing Agreement. The first is for capital lease financing agreement. This is the financing as we have previously at a board meeting for the purchase of 2 72-passenger school buses. The next is for the Montgomery County School Entities Joint Purchasing, and that is for unleaded gasoline and diesel fuels for 2025-2026.
Any questions from my board colleagues? Ms. Wu? No? Okay. Mrs. Flanagan, if you would.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Eisenhart?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Spalding?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Ms. Frazier?
Aye.
Ms. Fazy?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
Aye. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Okay, Ms. Eisenhart. Can you please read the recommendation for the ratification of the agreement with the Abington Education Association?
That the Board of School Directors, pursuant to the Public Employee Relations Act of the General Assembly, and as a result of the negotiations undertaken, hereby approve, adopt, and authorize the President and Secretary of the Board to execute and deliver on behalf of the school district the agreement after the same has been duly executed by the proper and authorized officers of the Abington Education Association, AEA, effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028.
Second.
We have a second, Dr. Fetcher.
Thank you, Dr. Mowry. A committee representing the Board of School Directors, including Dr. Melissa Mowry and Mr. Brian Allen, the administration, met with the Abington Education Association to develop this 3-year contract as stated to be effective July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Ms. Christine Taylor, Director of Human Services, and the negotiations team will review the changes to the terms and conditions of the agreement. So I'm going to ask Ms. Taylor to review that, please.
Thank you. Good evening. The following are some highlights from the agreement that we reached with the Education Association. In all 3 years of the agreement, 1.25% will be added to the salary matrix for steps 1 to 13 on the schedule. In year 1, 2.5% will be added to the top step of the schedule, and in years 2 and 3, 2% will be added to the maximum step. In years 1 and 3 of the agreement, step 1 will be eliminated. These changes in salaries equate to the following increases on average for AEA members. Year 1, 4.85%, year 2, 4.06%, and in year 3, 3.54%. Educational salary attainment movement will now occur once per year. That's a change from twice per year in the past. IEP teachers of record will receive an annual stipend of $800. Modest increases have also been established for the following ancillary payment areas: summer school, high school schedulers, homebound tutors, coaches, and club leaders. Each year, those rates will increase at 1.25%. For healthcare, the following changes have been agreed to. We will introduce a new healthcare plan option, a HSA qualifying plan, in addition to our core Keystone point of service plan and our buy-up PPO plan. Employee contributions to the core plan will be 18%, and for the high deductible plan, 8%. We'll be changing our formulary from an open formulary to a closed formulary. We will also be instituting some programs under our pharmacy benefit manager, RX Cap and RX Control. Other notable changes in the agreement are enhancement to our tuition reimbursement program, which encourages the continued professional development of our staff. Pre-approved graduate level coursework will receive greater tuition reimbursement entitlement, and also there are enhancements to the unused sick day payments for those retiring under the provisions of PSERS. Language changes and adjustments will also increase the presence of our teachers for the supervision of students when needed at arrival, dismissal, in hallways, and in common areas. On behalf of the district, I would like to thank the Abington Education Association for a collegial, productive, and I think a very great bargaining experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from my board colleagues? Nothing? Okay, with that, we'll move to the vote.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Eisenhart?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Balding?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Ms. Frazier?
Aye.
Ms. Fazy?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
I'm very pleased to vote aye. Our teachers are really the backbone of this district. So I'm very pleased to approve this contract. With that, the ayes have it. Did you want to add something?
I wanted to offer Ms. Debbie Lee, if you wanted to, as president, if you wanted to address the negotiations process.
Hi, Debbie Lee, proud member of the community, proud educator in the district, and most honored to be the president of the Abington Education Association. Unfortunately, this year was a hard year health-wise, so I had an amazing negotiation team that took the rail and ran with it and did all they could possibly do for our AAA members. I'd like to thank all of you for saying aye and making it unanimous. It means the world to us. They worked really hard. Everyone filled out the surveys, told everyone what they needed, what they wanted, and sitting down with someone like Dr. Fetcher and Chris Lionetti and Ms. Taylor made it a lot easier for the negotiation team. I've negotiated quite a few contracts, and they've only gotten better as the years progress, Dr. Fetcher, so thank you. We have our 3 top negotiators here this evening, and I would like to recognize them, please, so in case you don't know them, and they are Ernest West, our contract specialist and vice president, Tracy Dooley, our elementary contract specialist and vice president, and Mike Statsky, membership chair. And I thank you, and it was not easy for me. Shamika, I want you to know, I let someone's words make me forget who I was, but I have endured many storms and natural disasters, and the rain doesn't bother me.
Come on.
So Jesus taught me that again. So I dusted my shoulders off, and I stand here proudly to say thank you for negotiating with him and giving the AEA what they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that takes us to item 11. Are there, Dr. Fetcher, are there any additional reports and recommendations by the administration?
Yes, Dr. Mowry, I provide the conference attendance and professional leaves for your information.
Okay. Great to see our teachers representing the district so well. Okay. Any other business that may appropriately be brought to the attention of the Board of School Directors? No? Okay. That takes us to our second and final segment of comments from citizens. Comments from citizens are being conducted both in person and by phone. The phone number to participate is being displayed now. It is 267-715-3717. You'll be able to join the meeting by calling in on your mobile or landline phone. As in the first segment, a citizen will be recognized once during this period of the meeting, and each citizen's comments will be limited to 3 minutes, except at the discretion of the president. Time may not be yielded or otherwise transferred by one speaker to another for purposes of extending a given speaker's time allotment. If there's anyone present who would like to make a comment, please use the microphone.
Joe O'Brien, Glenside again. One of the things I forgot to mention earlier, one of the things that ICS said was that if you replaced the HVA system in the middle school, there'd be a higher failure rate. Well, if you replace it with current level equipment, I've written software to test these exact failure rates. Okay? It would be the exact same failure rate as it would be in a brand new school. Doing that is absolutely giving the suggestion it would fail quicker in an old school is not honest in any way or form. It would fail in the exact same rate in a brand new school as it would in the existing middle school. HVA systems fail at certain times. Doesn't matter what they're in.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Matthew Palmer, Carmen Road. So hopefully I can squeeze this in 3 minutes. My grandparents moved to Abington for the schools, and my mother attended Abington schools and graduated in 1966. Eventually, when I was in 4th grade, my mother brought our family back to Abington schools, and I attended Abington Junior High, as it was known at that time. The science wing was added in 1996. I graduated from the high school in 1997. I turned 46 this year, and no changes have been made to the building in all that time. I feel old. Even back then, the students called it the ant farm or the prison. And these terms did not originate from kids who hated school. I was mostly in honors classes, and these were the kids that I was in class with. Circumstances have changed, practices have changed. The notion that we can continue to educate in a non-ADA compliant facility is reprehensible. The notion that it is okay to leave our kids in what amounts to a sinking ship is outrageous. Teachers, sorry teachers. The belief that we can put half our students in mobile teaching units while we renovate our building is ridiculous. My mother was a teacher in North Philadelphia for almost 30 years, and I've seen what happens in the mobile units. As if classrooms with full glass windows facing the hallway isn't enough of a safety risk, let's go a step further and put them in exterior structures, putting them beyond any potential support of any school resource officers. Let's put them in an environment where they may be exposed to workers who haven't been vetted and increase the risk of their exposure. It would seem to me that the primary concern from some folks is an increase of taxes. I propose that the real problem isn't taxes. As has been pointed out, the tax burden still would not amount to the burden in some nearby districts. If you want people to move to our district and perpetuate a strong tax base, you would do well to consider that for generations, my family's an example, people have chosen to move here for the quality of the schools that can easily come to an end if our district fails to receive that support. The choice for me is simple. You can leave a legacy of community support and continued excellence, or you can leave a legacy of greed and self-interest. I choose to support educational excellence on May 20th. Thank you.
Thank you for your voice. Anyone else?
Hi.
Hi.
Jen Pertel, Glenside. I wanted to, previous speaker had said that he was worried that this was a rushed process and that we should have gotten today's presentation 6 months ago, and that he wanted us to wait 6 months so we could come up with a better plan. And I wanted to reiterate that this planning process has been going on for 3 years. There was a very detailed presentation by these gentlemen 6 months ago. And they went over in detail the 4 options that you presented to residents to vote on in the surveys that went out at the end of the year. There is a website, oneasd1future.org, that has a ton of details and information for residents to look at and see all of the work and care that has gone into this process so far. For example, another speaker had said that ICS was hired by the board with a no-bid contract. In the frequently asked questions section of the OneASD One Future site or website, it states, quote, "The district selected ICS, a construction management firm in Media, PA, that specializes in managing large-scale educational facilities projects using a competitive request for proposal, or RFP, process that evaluated experience, technical expertise, and costs," end quote. The website also states that, quote, under the Separations of Trades Act, the district must contract separately with general, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical contractors, end quote. So this is not one no-bid business that is going to do this for us. This is a big process. It takes experts and it takes a lot of different teams working together, led by people that know what they're doing. So to reiterate my reasons for voting yes on this referendum, if it does not pass, the basic repairs and upgrades to the current middle school will cost approximately $105 million. It'll take up to 6 years, same time as the new building would, to complete from start to finish, and will likely delay regular maintenance and other district buildings, and could potentially impact staffing, educational programming, and course offerings, as well as extracurricular activities for the next 20 years. That's half of the time it would take for us to pay off the referendum bond. And then finally, another speaker had referenced a presentation from a previous meeting and said it showed poor student results. I believe that presentation was specifically showing students that had been flagged in beginning of the year assessments that did not show the student body as a whole. So it was specifically targeting the kids that were shown to need a little extra intervention. And from my recollection, the presentation showed that they were making great progress, actually. So I just wanted to clear that up. Because again, if we don't spend the money.
Thank you. Your time is up. That's okay. Thank you. Mr. Kargas, we'll go to callers now, please.
Yes, the next citizen for public comment. Phone number ending in 3219. Please state your full name and address.
Hi, my name is Ashley Bram Johnson, and I live near Rydell Elementary School. I wanted to call in tonight to voice my support for the referendum. The transparency that the board has demonstrated throughout this 3-year planning process has gone above and beyond most other school districts who have gone through the referendum process. I especially appreciate the constant input that the district has asked for from the community and the continued updates that you're all making to the One ASD, One Future website. It truly shows your commitment to the Abington and Rockledge communities who will be affected by this. My family chose to move to Abington about 5 years ago, and the primary reason we chose Abington and not any other district in Montgomery County was not just the excellent reputation of the school district, receiving A grades for academics and teachers in school district assessment websites, but also from the feedback given to us from families already in the district. In many of the families we know and have met since moving into the district, the parents and even grandparents are also alumni of the Abington School District. This showed us as a family that Abington would provide a stimulating and safe community for our own kids and has already demonstrated this for decades. A community that prioritizes education is a community making an investment in its own future, not only attracting new families into the district, but also holding on to those families into the future. Over 60 years ago, this community made a capital investment to construct the North Campus, now known as Abington Middle School. This investment back then illustrated the financial willingness of Abington School District residents to back high-quality education, and that's a direct quote from a 1960s IDA booklet about the North Campus. It's now time in 2025 for the community to make this investment again. For all these reasons and so many, many more, I'll be voting yes on May 20th. Thank you.
Thank you for your voice. Mr. Kargas, can you confirm that there are no other callers on the line?
Correct, there are no more callers.
Okay. We'll do final call for people in the room who would like to make a comment.
Mr. Rooney, of course.
Hey, good evening again. Joe Rooney in Ardsley. First, I didn't have time in the first section, but I want to wish happy Easter for everybody here if you worship, and for those of us who are Christians. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. For our friends, our Jewish friends, a week earlier than that was Passover. I wanted to recognize that incredibly holy day for our Jewish friends also, because it's very important for all of us to recognize all of those very holy days. Abington School District historically, and people could back it up, is first in the alphabet, was first in either academics or achievement. I like to think it was academics, and first in athletics. And at no point in this whole discussion has $285 million talked about how that's going to lead to the improvement of any of those. And we have heard discussions, and we've been multiple discussions on problems with reading in kids leaving 5th grade and coming into the middle school. So that definitely needs to be addressed. And I would love to hear how this $285 million for the people who are here and watching, how are we going to improve our achievement, academics, and athletics with this capital improvement project? The other thing that's kind of interesting to me is we're going to continue to use North Campus's building for the next 6 years. There are needed improvements to that building that have to be addressed now because they've been neglected for the last several. And several of these board members have been on this board for at least 4 years. And up until the last few meetings, maybe 6 months, there's never been any discussion about ADA in the middle school. I don't understand why, if it's such an important concern. The next one is, why did we move the 6th grade class into that school if we had these things? Because in all honesty is, we don't have them. Minute left, thank you. They are, in fact, they've been addressed before, they've been looked at, and have been found adequate. We have a structurally sound building. We have a structurally sound building worth a lot of money, and we can improve that. I encourage people to vote no, go to commonsenseabington.com, and we need a better plan. The presentation that we received today from these gentlemen was interesting, but it is the program or the presentation we should get 6 months to a year before you guys make the decision. Now, you've already made the decision as far as the referendum is concerned. We're talking to people in the audience here. commonsenseabington.com. You'll get answers to the questions you're not getting them to. Thank you. Oh, I got a little time. Could anybody tell us how much does the new teacher's contract cost the school district each year? That wasn't brought up. Thanks.
Thank you for your voice.
Hi, Deborah Lee, Turner Avenue, proud member of the community. I would like to thank you all for your kind words and my goodbye. They meant the world to me. Miss Dr. Mowry, I won't be going too far. I may even be getting a seat up there someday.
Promises, promises.
And lastly, the most important thing I wish to say is, please use common sense and vote yes to invest in our students, our community, and our middle school. Thank you.
Thank you for your voice. All right, final call for people in the room who would like to make a comment, who have not done so already. Okay. Dr. Fetcher, is there anything you'd like to respond to?
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank the speaker who brought up the purpose of the presentations for the achievement data, and that it was benchmark data to show how we are trying to achieve excellence as our standard, and what we are putting into place to make sure that we have some safety nets for our students. And part of that presentation that is very important to me, every year we have school improvement plans in every one of our buildings. That was an opportunity to show where we are as far as those progressions are concerned throughout the school year. And we did focus on our most needy students. And I think that's important to note as well, that it's not just, here's our all group and we are achieving this percentage, and these are our students who are going to the best schools in the country. We looked at students who are struggling, what programs and things we were putting in place that are beyond the average student, and what we would do to make sure that we can help them achieve. So I think I appreciate that was brought up during comments, and that clarification is essential. So, we do maintain excellence as our standard, and we are achieving. And, I invite anyone to look at the impressive places that our Abington students go beyond 12th grade. to look at the number and dollar amount of scholarships that our students are receiving here in Abington and the difference that they're making, not only in this community, but in the world. So I think to question what we are here to do and our mission and vision, I'd beg to differ and say that part of the reason for those presentations is to ensure that all students can achieve. Next, I want to clarify, there was a statement made about why did we bring the 6th grade class to the middle school? And I just want to explain why that occurred at that time. That was part of our grade span reconfiguration. And the reason why we did the reconfiguration was an enrollment increase. Our elementary schools all had capacity issues at the time. And one way to achieve that, and there were discussions about whether to build another elementary school, whether to expand the middle school, and the decision that was made was to expand the high school so that 9th through 12th grade could all be in the high school at one time. That construction project occurred first with the new wing being built before the renovation so that the 3 grades of students, 10 through 12, that had been in that building could be there for some time, and it wouldn't affect the education of the students. Once the building was complete, we were able to move 9th grade over, first time having a 9 through 12 high school building. And that enabled the 6th grade to come to the middle school, which opened up the every elementary school to have room, and we were able to address our enrollment issues and concerns at the time. So that was the reason why 6th grade moved to the middle school. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for clarifying the achievement data we saw back in January. I think it's important for people to understand that mid-year achievement data is a helpful check for teachers in the classroom to understand where their students are and identify those students who may need further help in meeting the expectations. It does not mean that those students are failing. So I think that's an important clarification. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. With that, we will move on to closing comments of our school directors. Mrs. Brown.
It's PSSA season for grades 3 through 8. Remember to charge those devices tonight, get a good night's sleep. And for our students taking Keystones a little bit later, remember that algebra and biology is important. Do your best. Have a good night, everyone.
Ms. Eisenhart.
Just want to again acknowledge all the wonderful and robust conversation and dialogue from all the community members this evening. Again, reiterate thanks to our awesome retirees and their commitment and service to the district. You matter, and it's important. The opportunity to impact the lives of children is something you should hold in your heart forever. And I appreciate all of the work that the district does and our teachers and our staff to continually positively influence and impact our students every day they choose to show up and do that. And that's commendable. And Abington as a community is grateful for your service. Have a good evening, all.
Mr. Mohammed?
When you ask your neighbors, why Abington? They are likely to say the schools. That's my answer. Right? You know, I moved into Abington in October of 2020, and immediately ran for a seat on this board throughout that following year. It's my honor to sit on this seat, to work on behalf of every student in this district, to work alongside my colleagues as stewards of our budget, and to secure the future of Abington School District for generations to come. When we think about the middle school, we have to take into consideration what we have. We have a school that is providing quality education, but is plagued with distractions based on environmental and facilities challenges. These include cramped hallways and stairwells, systems that are past their useful life, spaces that are not ADA compliant, spaces that are in need of upgrades and renovations. The community, Abington, Rockledge, right, we could go with a kick the can down the road approach, or the community could embrace the proactive approach that this referendum provides, which would yield fewer disruptions to education, a planned and well thought out construction process with proper funding, and the ability to avoid the inevitable drain on our budget based on the challenges of that middle school. I invite everyone in our community to envision the difference between what we currently have and what we stand to gain if we come together and vote yes to invest in the needs of our students. We shouldn't have to rely on student grit and resilience as they go to school every day in a space that poses educational disruptions, is not inclusive, and can sometimes be uncomfortable. Abington, Rockledge, we have it within our power to do the right thing for our community. We need to make the investment for the benefit of our students, pay it forward for future generations. Let's come together to create a space that removes as many barriers to learning as possible. Vote yes to invest so that we can gain an ADA compliant building, new and modern building systems, school design that makes a large school feel smaller, adequate space for our students, state-of-the-art facilities meant to maximize student learning and educational experiences. May 20th, vote yes to invest. It's essential. We need this within our community. Thank you. Good night.
Ms. Spalding.
I too want to reiterate that. May 20th, vote yes to invest. Have a good evening, everybody.
Ms. Hartman.
The issue of ADA compliance has come up a couple times tonight, and I want to be clear that this is not a new issue for us. We heard from a parent a couple weeks ago who said that she can't even attend back to school night because she's in a wheelchair and she can't maneuver through that school. Can you imagine what it's like for a kid? These are some of our most vulnerable students, and we're not talking about one or two kids in our community. Mr. Solomon alluded to the fact that we are grandfathered in with our ADA compliance because of when the building was built and how it was built. But we are not doing a service to our students by not improving that. And we're not just talking about elevators. We're talking about the outside arrival points. We're talking about parking, loading and unloading zones, access in the cafeteria, access at water fountains, access at the library, being able to reach things that they need to be able to reach that they can't reach from their wheelchairs or from their whatever devices they're using to get around. When we talk about equity, this is what we're talking about. Every kid in that school deserves to be safe and feel welcome and have the best access to the best education. And I just need to say how strongly I feel about this, and I know that we have been talking about this throughout the process. But it's not just our kids who are our most vulnerable students who are affected. This is all of our students. And I just feel very strongly that we need to, as a community, come together for our kids and vote yes for this referendum so that we can give our students the best opportunity to grow as humans, to learn, and to be safe and happy. And I think you guys have done a great job of opening that door for us. And I want to thank everybody who's spoken tonight in support of the referendum, and thank all the voices here for speaking out, and have a good night.
Ms. Fraser.
I share all of your sentiments. Thank you. And thank you for coming out, all of you. Have a good evening.
Ms. Fazy.
I want to say thank you to everyone who spoke tonight, and for the presentations and for the conversations, and to all of our retirees who will be greatly missed, and to everyone who, for everything that you do each day in ensuring kids have access to education. Have a great night. Take good care.
Ms. Wu.
Just like with moving to the school district, I don't think I said this before, but my parents moved here when I was 5 years old because of the school district. And I used to go to a Catholic school in South Philly, and it wasn't a good area. And my sister also hated that school, and we moved here, and we were living in an apartment, but I think after a year, my parents realized like how good the school district was. So they were looking for houses, and they found a house that they loved, but wasn't in the school district, so they didn't buy it, and they just kept on looking until they found one that was like perfect in this district. And they have been talking like recently about how the rankings over school has gone down, and that's only because of the middle school. And I know that when I was in middle school, people were talking about how it looked like a prison, and and how the developers, there was like a rumor that the developers also developed a prison. And I remember one time when, I think it was after PSSAs, and everyone in my grade was just on the 3rd floor, and everyone was just stuck up there. And that's like, if there was a fire or anything, no one would be able to go down. They're just stuck there. Yeah. Okay, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we're glad your parents found the right house in the district. So the past couple meetings, I've been reiterating that public education is the single greatest driver of innovation and opportunity. It is also perhaps the most American of institutions because it affords opportunity to students regardless of where they live, regardless of their income level, regardless of whatever resources they have. For one of the things we heard about tonight is that for generations, this community has stood in support of that most American of institutions. I want to urge everyone in this community on May 20th to go out and vote yes for the referendum so that we can continue that tradition. Thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.